Kenya to Colombia, from Iraq to Korea, in slums, in schools, in prisons, and in theatres. Every day, people gather at TedX events around the world to hear the best ideas bubbling up in their communities. Today, you are part of a global conversation about our shared future. So what is this TedX? TedX is an initiative of the TED Conference, a non-profit devoted to ideas worth spreading. We grant free licenses to allow TED-like events to spread globally. This event today is based on the TED Conference format and ideals, but is independently organized by your local community. So please make sure to thank the team of volunteers who worked so hard on today's event. It's their ideas, dedication and time that made it all possible. It's they who booked all the speakers, and the views you'll hear today are of course those of those speakers, not necessarily of TEDx. We hope their talks spark an exciting conversation among you. This is a day for curiosity and for skepticism, for openness and for critical thinking, for inspiration and for action. The more you enter into it, the more you'll take out. And now, on with the show.
Dear friends, we welcome you all to our TEDx presentations today.
As you know, English, which is the most spoken language in the world, has a significant place in our school. Our study of English aims to raise us as citizens of the world.
The English department of our school also implements many projects throughout the school year in order to raise awareness on the topics that have left their mark on history or the current problems of our world.
Our teachers always encourage us to share our ideas and listen to each other.
Today we'll listen to 5 different TEDx speeches with a wide range of topics. I'm very excited about hearing all of these inspiring talks, and I hope we'll have a great time together.
We would like to start the event by inviting the first of our 5 speakers off the stage. Starting off with Mert Tunçer, we will listen to the speech on failure.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's be honest, it is hard to admit it. It requires great courage to do so. However, it is necessary for character development, growth, and self-improvement. I'll go first. I have failed. Matter of fact, I fail all the time. It's my everyday. But you see, I love failing. Throughout my life, I've taken hundreds of tests and exams and failed them. I've been on many different diets and training programs and given up. I've set goals and dreams, but ended up stopping chasing them. I wanted to learn how to skip rope. In order to reach the caliber that I'm at today, I had to hit myself in the foot 100, 1,000, and if not 10,000 times. I've had so many mistakes, shortcomings, unproductive work sessions, and feeble willpower. There were, and still are to this day, days that I stare at the ceiling for half an hour before I get out of bed. I keep on failing. I failed so many times that the lazy version of me wouldn't have even tried in the first place. Despite all that, I always knew that the light was at the end of the tunnel, and that the times of suffering had not come to stay, but to pass away, to subside. Because of those failures and those times of pain, I have become, in my own regard, successful in many areas of life. Sylvester Stallone, most famous for his roles as Rocky and Rambo, once said, quote, "I'm not the richest, the smartest, or the most talented person in the world, but I succeed because I keep going and going and going. But you see, I'm just your casual good old Mert Tunçer. I would like to tell you the story of another man who has failed, just like all of us. You ever seen him? You see, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to tell you a secret. Michael Jordan has failed. Matter of fact, according to him, he has missed more than 9,000 shots in his career, lost almost 300 games, and has been trusted to take the game-winning shot 26 times and missed. But well, there are the facts. Michael Jordan has indeed failed. Thus, he is a failure. End of the story, right? Well, of course not. You can't and frankly shouldn't judge yourself entirely on your shortcomings. Notice how I never used the word failure during this speech until now. That's because you only become a failure when you say that you are one. You're not a failure until you stop trying. Failure is not when you fall down, but when you refuse to get up. Just like in boxing, getting knocked down doesn't strictly mean that you're knocked out. You can still get up, fight, and come back. At the end of the day, Michael Jordan is not only one of the most successful athletes to ever live in this world, but he is also a successful entrepreneur, leaving behind him an incredible legacy, not only in basketball, but also in fashion, leading to the creation of the Air Jordan division of Nike. Ladies and gentlemen, please raise your hands. How many of you happen to own a pair of Jordans, or know a friend who owns a pair? There you go. All in all, if you're going to take something away from this speech, I would very much like it to be the following. Failure is progress, and that means failure is success. Don't be afraid to admit that you failed. A human must suffer while building his character, for he is both the marble and the sculptor himself. Future growth relies on accepting failures and learning from them. Ladies and gentlemen, that was Failure by Mert Tunçer. Thank you.
We all loved your speech, Mert. Thank you. The topic of our next speaker is also quite interesting. He's going to give us a talk about interneurons, which basically means a neuron that conveys impulses from one neuron to another. Let's give a huge round of applause for Benoît Tunçer.
Hello. Today I wanted to delve a little bit into a scientific topic, and this is what I came up with. I won't bore you, I promise. So, without further ado and waiting, let's just get into the subject. We're all familiar with the human brain. It is a mass of cells inside our heads that weighs approximately 1.5 kilograms. It's pretty light for what it does, because this is the part that makes all your decisions. When you go to the restaurant, when you order food, when you pick out what to wear. This is the part that makes all the decisions, and we'll look into a little bit into how it does that. Here's a simple neuron diagram on which there are 3 types of neurons, and these are the most common neuron types in our system. You can see sensory neurons, motor neurons, and the interneurons in between. The sensory neurons are the part that gather information from sensory organs, and the motor neurons are the part that tell our muscles what to do, and the interneuron is the part between them, and that's the part that makes the decisions. So, we'll look into how it actually does that. Here's a comparison between neurons and computers. On the bottom you can see a computer processor, a CPU. under a scanning electron microscope, and this basically zooms in a lot to show us the very little progress, the very little processes happening. And all those pathways you see lead to transistors, which I will explain in a short bit. And on the top here, you can see a neuron diagram, and you can kind of see how they're similar, right? They can be wired 1 to 2 and different quantities and as such. So, let's look a little bit into logic circuits. On the photo on the right, you can see pathways on a processor. And as I said, all these lead to transistors. And on the right, there's a transistor as found on computer motherboards and processors. And they are small logic circuits, and I'll explain how those work. Logic circuits actually work in a very simple way. You can see there are 2 inputs, 1 and 0, also known as true or false. And these stimuli go into a transistor, and if the desired conditions are reached, or the desired input is made, it gets to go onto the next transistor, and the cycle repeats all over again, and this happens selectively. And you can see how neural circuitry is similar to that. You have 2 neurons here, and they go to one neuron, and this evaluates the stimuli and passes it, or doesn't pass it, onto the next chain. And this all happens through a synapse. You can see a drawing of a synapse here, and you can see that special particles are being secreted here. And these are called neurotransmitters. And these basically tell what the next cell, there's another cell here, normally. And depending on the type of chemical neurotransmitter that is secreted, the next cell gets different types of signals. And this is how neurons tell each other what to do. And you may be asking, how does one synapse not trigger all associated neurons? Well, the answer is GABA. Gamma-aminobutyric acid, or GABA for short, produces inhibitory signals, which selects specific neurons on which to activate and which to not activate. And that is how we selectively compute. Thank you for listening. That's all.
I invite Nazlı Dinç. Nazlı is a unique student who is very much into car racing. And today she is going to talk about the danger and the thrill of Formula One.
The closer you are to death, the more alive you feel, said James Hunt, a former Formula One pilot. The adrenaline makes you feel alive. The more scared you are, the more you want to experience that feeling. Your heart starts pounding faster and faster, your hands get sweaty, but you are locked in at one thing and one thing only, and that is to beat the impossible and to make history. Today I wanted to talk about Formula One because personally I think that there is so much beauty in the sport that many of us don't see. Maybe you think of the sport as cars only driving around in circles for hours and hours, but have you ever seen a machine that goes from 0 to 300 kilometers per hour in just about 3 seconds? Don't you ever think what drivers feel at that moment? There's only a few seconds between those cars when they're on the circuit, and believe me, this is no place for mistakes. You break 1 second late, you die. You touch the car in front, he dies. To start off, I want to explain a little bit how the races work. And the fun weekend consists of 3 days. Friday, you got 2 practice sessions where drivers work to improve their track skills. Saturday, you got 1 practice session along with the qualifications, which determine the grid, the position that they're going to be starting from on Sunday. And finally, Sunday, you got the big race. There are 10 teams, and each team has 2 pilots. Usually, there's a more dominant pilot in each team with a second driver. Every team can modify their car to the needs of their pilots, and they are also expected to find their own sponsors to have a budget that gets them throughout the year. The goal is to be faster than everybody else and win as many points as you can. There are 2 different kinds of championships. One individual, where a single pilot wins the title of the world champion, and the second one is for the teams, which is called the Constructors' Championship. When the drivers are on the circuit, it all happens so fast in split of a second. You don't even realize it. It may seem like the sport is a risky business, but on the contrary, I think that the beauty of the sport lies within its dangers. As some of you know, we had some crucial losses to the sport over the years, such as Jules Bianchi and Antoine Hubert and many others, along with Ayrton Senna. You can take Senna for instance. He was a mastermind in Formula One racing. He came from a small town in Brazil. He came from a small town in Brazil to #1 place. He took the hot spot. He competed against legends until he actually became one. It wasn't easy for him, but he gave it all because he believed in him and he was passionate about it. In an interview, he said these exact words, and I quote, "And suddenly I realized I was no longer driving the car consciously. I was driving it kind of by instinct, only I was in a different dimension." He used to say that fear excited him. Unfortunately, he died in May 1994 when he crashed into concrete barriers in the San Marino Grand Prix. The Supreme Court of Italy stated later that the cause of the crash was mechanical failure. Even though the sport took his life, he had such great passion for it. And once something is passionate, there is motivation to it. This is the video of his crash.
Senna bateu forte. Ali bateu Moreno. A batida muito forte.
The cars have been improving a lot since it all started. As you can see from this picture that they had some serious changes done to them. The aerodynamics of the cars are really important, and over time you can see that the front and the rear wing has improved a lot to make cars go faster. This helped cars to be more competitive throughout the years. In 2011, GRS, the drag reduction system, was introduced in order to increase top speed and promote overtaking. In 2018, FIA introduced a new part to these cars called the halo to improve the protection of pilots' heads while racing. The red part just above the driver's head is called halo. When we look like that, we may think that it doesn't actually do anything, but as you can see here, it has saved some great lives this year, and mostly last year. And this is a video of Fernando Alonso's cockpit from this year's Japanese Grand Prix. This is how they see from the inside of the car, which I found very extraordinary. Close off by saying that even though this is a risky sport, I've never seen someone quit or give up just because the others told them to. This is a sport of passion, and yeah, maybe it is difficult, like in life. But if you want to accomplish your dreams, you must take chances and keep pushing your limits, because believe me, you are more capable than you think that you are. This is a message of Daniel Ricciardo to his younger self, which has inspired me a lot, and I hope that it inspires you one day too.
Enjoy the butterflies. I think enjoy being naive. Enjoy the nerves, the pressure, people not knowing your name, all that stuff. Because that's part of it. I think if you kind of want to stand on the top from day one, then there's nothing else to look forward to. So yeah, enjoy kind of the process of making a name for yourself. Enjoy the butterfly.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time.
Next, we invite another smart lady, Ece Ümer, on the stage. She will be with us talking about the serious issue of gender inequality.
Today I'm going to be talking about an issue that has existed for centuries and still is a major problem in our day: gender inequality. I will analyze the different treatments made by the society accordingly to the genders by dividing it into three categories: gender inequality in education, gender inequality in business life, now it works. So today, welcome you all, and today I'm going to be talking about an issue that has existed for centuries and still is a major problem today: gender inequality. I will analyze the different treatments made accordingly to the genders by dividing it into three subcategories: gender inequality in education, gender inequality in business life, and the different treatments of the society made accordingly to the genders. However, before diving into my speech, I would like to read the definitions of inequality and gender inequality and ask you to think about these concepts while listening. Inequality is the unfair situation in society when some people have more opportunities, money, etc. than other people. Gender inequality is a legal, cultural, or social situation where gender determines disparate opportunities and rights for women and men, characterized by unequal access to or benefit of rights and assumptions of stereotypical, culturally and socially defined roles. There is a very important aspect of gender inequality that can create many unseen problems in the future for the world and Turkey. The education system that consists of unequal treatment of different genders, such as the subjects they are allowed to study, the degrees they are allowed to earn, and even the schools they are allowed to attend. According to a study that was conducted in 2022, the university graduation rate for women is 19.9%, and the rate for men is 24.4%. So, the question we should be asking ourselves right now is, why don't women receive an education? Well, the response to it is simple. In some overly conservative families, the female children who have reached puberty are forced to drop out from school and get married to a man seen fit by their families. Another answer is, in the eyes of the society, women don't require an education, considering that they will not be needing it. It's a common belief in the society that men are responsible for bringing home money. So they need to receive an education that consists of graduating from the university in order to get them to work in higher paying jobs. Gender inequality in business. Do you know the difference between male and female unemployment rates in Turkey? The actual number of the difference between male and female unemployment is 33%. Considering that 445,000 people are unemployed in Turkey at the moment, I'll leave it to you to calculate how many women who wish to work but cannot find the opportunity just because they're women. Now I will explain the reason why women are more unemployed than men. Although the reason why women are more unemployed than men is considered to be their inability to handle these jobs, it is not their physical or mental health. This is the main reason. The main reason is the possibility of women getting pregnant. Companies prefer to hire male employees, considering that women can take months of maternity leave, but the company will still have to pay some of their salary and their insurance in the process. Also, there are some stereotypical jobs assigned to the genders by the society. For example, most people consider being a teacher, especially a kindergarten teacher, as the best suited job for a woman, because they are more sensitive and get along better with children. Or a nurse, considering that in many households around the world, women are given the responsibility of taking care of the elderly and attending to their needs. However, being a civil engineer is a great job for men, considering that they have the physical capacity to work under hard conditions in the construction sites. To add to this, In some overly conservative families, women are not allowed to study civil engineering, since they will be studying in a major where the majority of the students are males. And after the graduation, they will have to work with male employees. So, now let's talk about a little bit the different treatment of the society to the different genders. Can you think about any old traditions that don't occupy a role in many of us' life, but still continue to be followed by some sections? I have a tradition in mind that I would like to talk about. In the old days, usually in rural areas, if a man wanted to marry a woman, he had to pay a certain amount of money to get the girl's family to consent to their daughter's hand in marriage. This outdated tradition isn't a part of our reality right now. However, in some overly conservative families and communities, this rule still applies. Well, by analyzing this tradition, we can actually understand the woman's place in the society. Women aren't wise enough to choose who they want to marry, and women aren't wise enough to make their own decisions. Women are the property of their fathers and brothers, and if somebody wants to marry them, they have to buy their ownership. We can also see the objectification of women in the eyes of the society. There are many other examples of behaviors that are outdated and aren't fit for our lives in the 21st century. The treatment of people made according to these traditions is the primary reason for gender inequality. Women and men are equals. And when women are given the opportunities that men are given, they can accomplish anything. Just like did Stephanie Frappart and Miss Özlem Türeci. So please, let's fight together for the right inequality of women and men. Thank you.
Our next speaker is a very jolly character who laughs a lot and who makes us smile every day. He will talk to us about the philosophy behind the cartoons, focusing on Rick and Morty. Let's give a huge round of applause for our surprise guest, Berk Göyer.
Hello everyone. I would like to talk about a famous animation called Rick and Morty. This animation is about a grandfather Rick who is the smartest person in the whole universe, goes on adventures with his grandson Morty. This series started on 2nd December 2013. In this animation, the writer wants to show us each episode different things like multiverse or female dominant universe. But the main philosophy is nihilism. This series focuses on the insignificance of human existence compared to the size of the universe. The series characters struggle to deal with cosmic fear and existential horror, either by asserting the usefulness of science or over magic, or by choosing a life of ignorant bliss. Matthew Bulger of the Humanist magazine states that the creators of the series are trying to convey the message that in order to find a sense of purpose and lead a better life, we must focus on human relationships and not occupy our minds with unanswered questions. I would like to talk about other philosophies in this animation. Existentialism is one of the philosophies the author mentions in this animation. Rick is perhaps one of the personifications of existentialist ideologies. He exists only for himself and thinks only for himself. However, there is doubt within his own self as to his ability to be so free in this world. Since he has ultimate power by having resources readily available, he does not turn to any higher power other than himself for answers. However, ironically, when braced for death by plummeting through space, Rick does pray to God, until he figures out his own way to escape his own demise and mocks God upon his return home. What is fascinating is his embrace of religion when he is trying to escape that. Then, when he has fully escaped, he turns his back once again on the idea of it. Rick does a variety of things just because he can. Perhaps one of the most prominent antics from the characters is during Season 3, Episode 3, untitled Pickle Rick. Why exactly does Rick turn himself into a pickle? There may be a truly complex answer hidden underneath the idea that he did it just because he could, and took out an entire mercenary group in the process, just because he could. However, Rick seems to enjoy distracting himself with these explosive endeavors because when he is not Rick the scientist god, he is just Rick the father and grandfather. This seems to frighten the character who frequently attempts to end his own life, or at least have an existential crisis when left to his own thoughts. In the second episode of Rick and Morty Season 4, untitled The Old Man and the Seed, Rick has his own tiled sanctuary bombarded with traps and ways to capture anyone who tries to invade his paradise. However, things take a depressing turn when this invader becomes a sort of motivator for Rick to take a good look at himself, which inevitably happens when Rick's traps come to hunt him when he sits on his own toilet. Holograms come to life that mock Rick's willingness to isolate himself from the world. It is ironic that this character's largest strength is his mind, but it is also the thing he fears the most. Rick and Morty is no stranger to plot points and sequences that invoke offbeat, funny moments with absurdist stems. However, everything in this show does come with its own meaning. In the 6th episode of Season 2, the Rick Must Be Crazy, Rick takes Morty to a world within their own car battery. However, the miniature world is living as we would, but their sole purpose is to power Rick's devices. They go deep into the miniature universes and their own miniature universe to reveal this cycle of capitalist way of life that essentially makes us look at our own society. The overall purpose of these alien creatures living in Rick's car battery is in fact to power Rick's car battery. Rick is the god of their world, and he does not care at all about them. In fact, he sees them as disposable. When Rick and Morty actually arrive to visit these creatures, he greets them jokingly. What does that say about our own world? The miniature inhabitants have just as much knowledge of what is outside their universe as we do. While we may not be dwelling inside a car battery, there is a lack of understanding where we turn to religion as help, security, and understanding. Rick and Morty embraces this lack of understanding, rejecting convenient answers, wallowing in its own nihilism sometimes, but using it to their creative advantage. Thank you for listening.
We have come to the end of our program. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did.
Many thanks to 5 of our speakers for their amazing presentations today. Thank you Mert, Alp, Nazlı, Ece and Berk.
Thank you Asya for your technical support you provided us with. Thank you Mr. Julian Pot for all your support.
Thank you very much to our English teachers for organizing this event. Thank you to our school administration for their help and encouragement. And thank you for watching.